All right, welcome back to the competition season. First Charged Up is officially upon us with over 20 or with 28 events happening across the world this past weekend. And boy, oh boy, it did not disappoint. We have a lot to unpack in this show, like breaking down the whirlwind of a weekend at 1678 the Citrus Circuits had at Port Hueneme, taking a look at and revisiting the discussion surrounding the new double elimination playoff bracket, and a match review with an interesting scenario that happened at South Florida this past weekend. All of this and more coming up on this episode of FRC Roundup.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. Kettering University is looking for talented robotics students who want to continue learning and innovating in a hands-on, real-world experience format. Kettering University representatives will be at dozens of FIRST events this season, including the championship. Go to kettering.edu/first to see which events you can meet a Kettering University representative. FRC competition season is here. Submit your favorite moments to FRC Clips of the Week by each Sunday at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow. Also, the FRC Top 25 poll is open Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern to Monday 5 p.m. Eastern, where you can vote for your top 25 teams of the week at firstupdatesnow.com/FRC Top 25.
All right, welcome to the show. If you have not caught our show previously, FRC Roundup is where we take a look at important topics currently happening in FRC, highlight some discussion points about events that may have happened, strategy, or anything that correlates with FRC. If you, the fun community, think that there is a topic that we should discuss on FRC Roundup, please feel free to ping me in the First Updates Now Discord, and I will be more than happy to take a look at it. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Mathis, and I'm currently in the First and Michigan region, and I'm currently a mentor for FRC 33, the Killer Bees.
And I am Connor McBride, mentor for Team 166 Chop Shop and game announcer in the New England District. Our guest tonight is Mike Corsetto. Mike is the Director of Hardware and Systems Engineering at Advanced Farm in Davis, California, and is the head coach for world-renowned 1678 Citrus Circuits. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to being a part of this.
Yeah, no problem. Right. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first topic. We're going to be taking a look at the crazy weekend that happened at Port Hueneme and the weekend that Citrus Circuits had. I know that with a lot of teams having the standard, Thursday, Friday, Saturday events, that a lot of teams were able to tune into the playoff rounds that happened yesterday. And obviously, Mike, the finals going to 4 matches with you guys tying in one of the matches. So we'll go ahead and throw it right to you and, break down a little bit of the weekend. Then we'll bounce some discussion points off you from there.
Totally. Well, I think for starters, the reason we wanted to go to the event in the first place was the team list at the event. Teams like Rembrandt's coming from the Netherlands and a couple teams from Mexico bringing international presence to the event, and then also a lot of really strong California teams in attendance. It's really important to us that we get off to a strong start as far as learning how the game can be played at the higher levels. And I really think that the teams at this event brought their A game, and it was really fun to be a part of a bunch of those qualification matches. For our team, it actually started out pretty rough. It's been a really long, grinding season, and we were fighting a bunch of electrical and mechanical issues going into the event. So, I think on a kind of internal level, our students really pushed through a lot of internal adversity to get the robot to where it was performing on Saturday morning, because Friday during practice was really rough and a lot of bumps in the road, but they made a lot of repairs and got the robot in a place where it was working each match. And for our team, it was a lot of great partners in quals. We had a pretty favorable schedule, all things considered. A couple of really tough matches, but ended up on top in those. And we had our pick of teams, and definitely not an easy choice because of all the strong teams at the event. But ended up going with High Tide, and had some bumps along the way in the playoffs. And I think the format of the tournament is really exciting, but it was also really stressful being on the lower bracket right after the first match, the first round of double eliminations. And so, I think as far as I'd rank, playoff experiences in my first career, this is definitely, I think, in the top 5 for sure, like most high intensity playoff experiences I've had in the program. Every match mattered. And for us, it was really cool to see the alliance come together and stay positive and stay focused, even in the midst of a lot of adversity, a lot of it outside of our control. The students and the teams we were with, both 4414 and 696 were really positive and just staying focused on what our goal was as an alliance. So overall, really fun, and all of our competitors were fantastic. Those finals matches were super fun. I remember the score went up for the finals one, and it was a tie. And I ran over to 4481's drive coach Ron, and I gave him a hug right there. I was like, "That was epic." 148 to 148. You can't ask for anything more than that. Let's make it
Right.
another good set of matches. And
Yeah.
they were really intense matches the whole way through. So, yeah, couldn't have asked for a more exciting, exhilarating event for our first one of the season. And I think we're just lucky to come out on top. But yeah, it could have gone any direction, and that's really what you want to see in a first event. So it was a blast.
I was at a small watch party watching events all Sunday, and we were watching the Hueneme finals, and we are just losing our minds over that. Like every match was like Einstein level caliber matches. Like that, it was fantastic. I haven't seen a regional that competitive in quite some time.
Yeah, and the one thing that came to mind too is that your alliance of 1678, 4414, and 696, you guys erased a pretty big point deficit in that last finals match. I think it was you were down by 30 points on real time scoring at one point, and you were able to come back and erase that, and able to finally win that fourth match and take home the championship. But
Hmm.
one thing I wanted to ask you, Mike, specifically from viewing the competition as a whole, is there anything that you thought played out differently at the game than you had anticipated?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one thing that became really clear, especially in the finals, is you really got to nail your basics. We
Mhm.
had you'll watch those matches, and there were a few matches where our robot didn't move in autonomous. We had some software bug where it wouldn't load the auto mode we had selected on our dashboard, and we just didn't move. And that's like that last finals match where we're starting out in a 30-point hole. And so it's those sorts of things not going right can really set you at a deficit. I think when you look at the scoring, you're like, oh, we got to score high, we got to put all these links up. But if you don't have all the kind of the basic points covered, your mobility bonuses, your autonomous balance, those sorts of things, if you can't get those, then you're at a big deficiency going into the rest of the game. So I think I was surprised at how much has to go right in one match to keep parity, and if any of those things drop, you're starting on the wrong foot. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a really interesting element of the game that I think I didn't really appreciate before going into the tournament.
Mhm. Okay. All right. So yeah, you kind of hinted towards it a little bit, but I do want to jump into our second topic, which is going to be related to kind of revisiting the double elimination playoff bracket that was changed this year. I know it was a pretty big change for a lot of people, and I shared the same opinion with you, Mike, regarding going losing the first match and moving down to the losers right away, and being on thin ice at that point. One thing that was interesting and I think might be, I don't want to say a flaw of the system, but something that's just different than what we've had. So, for example, I'm obviously with 33, and we had declined the number two lines captain had selected us, and we had declined for trying to get a better path at hopefully beating the one seed in the finals, and we knew that our way to the finals is going to be slightly more difficult. So we had ended up going against the two seed in the winners bracket and winning the first match to go to the winners bracket finals. And then obviously lost to the one seed and then had to go back down to the losers bracket finals to play the two seed again. So
Hmm.
we ended up losing the second match to the two seed. So then we're out of the tournament where, obviously in a normal scenario, when we'd be playing the two seed in the semifinals, we would get another crack at that match. So
Hmm.
I thought that that what might be one thing that I think is unfortunate. Obviously, my team went through it, so I'm used to it, or I've been through it, so I understand it a little bit more. But from that perspective, I think it kind of sucks, if you're a team that beats a team in the winners bracket, but then has to go down to losers and play them again, and then you end up losing, and then you're out. That's what
Hmm.
it is. So, but
Hmm.
I share that same opinion. Losing the first match and going down to the losers right away, like that is probably got to be the most intense scenarios of matches where you have literally no room for error and no chance to
Yeah.
drop anything. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
go ahead and we'll go
Well,
with you.
actually, kind of on that point, we've only played double eliminations twice so far. We played
Hmm.
it at Chessy Champs
Oh,
in
okay. Yep.
2022, and then we played it at this event. And both times we were in the number one seed, and both times we had completely opposite experiences in the bracket. Where the first time we played, we won out through the upper bracket and made it to the finals. And won it in two, I think. I'm
Hmm.
fuzzy on the memory, but and then in this experience, we lost and went right to the lower bracket and had to fight our way all the way through the lower bracket and through a tiebreaker match in the finals. So two very different experiences, and the second one I can attest is much more intense. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think it was honestly it was a lot of fun. We switched bumpers 3 times in the playoffs, which never done that before.
Right.
And then also we got so we when we got the red card in our match one, that was versus the 8 Alliance, and so they went up into the upper bracket, and they had a fantastic second match in the upper bracket and went to the upper bracket finals, I guess you call it. I forget what match number it is.
Mhm.
And they lost that one, so then they came down to the lower bracket to face us for a playoff to get into the finals. So it was kind of cool to have. I mean, I know you mentioned the rematch on the flip side of things, but
Right.
it was kind of cool from the number one seed to have an opportunity to play the 8 again. And we had just flipped bumper colors. So then they were in the red
Right.
bumpers as the 8, and we were in the blue as the number one, which is super unique as well.
Right.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I thought it was pretty fun, but I can attest also that it's very hard to follow. But I kind of don't mind. I kind of understand the system's gonna work its way out,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like having your playoff matches on shuffle. You just kind of don't know who you're face next, and then boom, you're playing this alliance in 15 minutes. Figure it out.
Right.
So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, the one thing that I do think was really nice from a team perspective, and is the breaks. To be frank, I know like we didn't have any major mechanical failures, so it was we kind of felt like it was dragging a little bit. But the minute like that I snap a pulley or something on our main arm gearbox and we have to replace it, like that 15 minutes is going to be the best 15 minutes we've
Yes.
ever had. So having
Yes.
that time allotted towards it to be able to make those repairs and not have those issues is going to be really nice. But
Yeah.
Connor, I know you have a strong opinion on the double elimination bracket. You'll be going through it this weekend with 166. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we went through it at the official week 0
Oh,
this
right. Yep.
year. Our off-season event, Mayhem and Merrimack, that we've been hosting since '06, ran it for as long as I can remember through the 2018 season. Still sucked then, still sucks now, and I will say it on my deathbed: this bracket sucks. No matter which way you put it, I've been on both sides where you go through the finals, through the upper bracket and through the lower bracket. Everything is awesome, very beautiful, really very comfortable, like the couch division in the upper bracket, until you go to the lower bracket, and then you're just going to the sharks. It's not fun at all. Um, because so I mean, at week 0, we paired up with Neutrons. We won our first playoff match pretty easily. Second match, we all three of us just started having mechanical issues. The break in between, when you're in that break during the upper bracket, is phenomenal. It almost started to have like too much time, almost, is
Mhm.
what it felt like. It's like, man, I was like, what do I do with this time? I think we started playing like rock, paper, scissors in the pit, just like pass the time or something like that. But as soon as we went down to the lower bracket, like I think we played match 2, we won that, went to match 7, lost that, and immediately went to match 9. But the way that everything was scheduled and just our walk to the pit, by the time we got our robot back to the pit, there was a queuer standing there. Like, might as well do a quick systems check, throw in a new battery in, and walk to the field because you're on deck. It's like, oh crap! Like, this is really happening.
Right.
I yeah, I,
Yeah, I can
it's still
appreciate
not
the
easy to follow, but like they're
yeah, and
First has done a really good. I commend First with what they've done
the
with
diagrams
the
are awesome
the
during the event.
diagrams are great. I commend First for that. They've done a really, really good job with that. But I'm
Yeah.
just still, I it could
Yeah.
still be better.
I think I appreciated the timers on the screen. I kind
Mhm.
of wish one slight improvement they could make is it's not intuitive to go back and look at the FMS field timers, because that's always where the timer is living. I wish
Right.
that when they were going through all their promo stuff, they just left a little clock in the bottom corner of the screen rolling, just as a constant reference for the teams to go back to,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
it would kind of fade in and out depending on what part of the script they're in.
Yeah.
So that could probably be one small improvement to the overall flow, but I did appreciate the timer on the screen. It was pretty clear, and even being in the spot where we had to play through the lower bracket the whole way, which is I think the most matches that you end up playing in this
Yeah.
tournament in that format. Um, I actually didn't really feel rushed at any point in the tournament, which is new for me because every time we've been in a best of 3 playoff, I felt like, oh, you go to a tiebreaker and there's no other match, so then it's like 6 minutes and you're back out there again to
Right.
do it one more time. And that is like a very rushed experience that I think a lot of teams can relate to from the past seasons.
Mhm.
So it was kind of nice not having that, like having the certainty of the format and then the timer on the screen, and then they let the finals extend out a little bit. It felt a little bit more comfortable on the tail end of the event, which I definitely appreciated.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Tyler, you had a question for Mike?
Yeah, Mike. Two things, I guess. One, did you guys have auto queue at your event, or was it the old queuing style?
I think they had auto queue. They were running the tablets with the
Yeah.
queuing.
So that would be a feature I would like to see with the auto queue. Then is to have that time left added to that auto queue, so teams know for that. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, with the double elimination, when you guys went to tiebreakers, that's a 15-minute break between every single match. Is that 15 too long for a team that was actually in finals? Does that need to be reduced maybe after the first couple matches?
Yeah, I definitely think it could be shrunk a little bit. It was a little excessive. And then they also, this might have just been a blip, but they also gave us 15 minutes after the FMS reset or the field reset, the field fault. And that was probably a little bit too much too. So I think they probably could have shrunk some of that down a little bit. Yeah, totally.
I got you. All right. So
Hold on. There's one thing I want to point out from someone who was on 1073 at Granite State this weekend. For reference for you, Mike, there was a foot of snow that came through New England. So Granite State got shrunk down from a 2-day event to a 1-day event.
Wow.
All breaks during playoffs were wiped.
Yikes. Yeah. That sounds terrible. I mean, I think they're trying to make the best out of a bad situation, but yeah, I could imagine how rushed that would be. Wow.
Yeah.
No breaks. Just keep the robot on the field. It's like when you're on the first match in practice day and you can just leave it on there because no one else is coming up, and you
replace the battery, run again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Right. All right. Well, before we go and jump into our final topic of the night, we're going to go ahead and bring Tyler back on to start our giveaway for the show and talk about our show sponsor, Kettering University.
Yeah, hey, thanks, guys. We have a fantastic giveaway from our friends at Playing with Fusion. So if you're interested in winning that, and I can actually remember how to put it back up on screen, then you'll have an opportunity to win. There we go. So yeah, Playing with Fusion is giving away this awesome cam-based time-of-flight distance sensor from playingwithfusion.com. You can automate game piece pickup with this. High-speed, millimeter resolution, fantastic device that you can use for your team. This is a CAN time-of-base sensor designed specifically for FRC. So if you're interested in winning this, type in TO Flight in chat right now, like so many are. Don't forget, you do need to be following in order to win. Our subs do get a little bit extra luck as well, too. And yeah, by the way, big shout out to our friends at Kettering University. If you are anywhere at events, you most likely will see a Kettering University representative, and they are looking for talented robotics students who want to continue learning and innovating on a hands-on, real-world experience format. They'd love to meet you, so come see them at all the events they're going to be at. 23 district events in Michigan. They're going to be in Indiana, Illinois, California, South Carolina, Ohio, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and wait for it, the Archimedes field sponsor at the first championship in Houston. So go to kettering.edu and click on the first tab to see where you might be able to find a Kettering University representative.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Talia. I was at the Kettering One District event this past weekend, and they really, they really dig out the whole campus to run that event. So thanks again to our folks at Kettering. Well, interesting to note, our poll that we did have regarding the double elimination bracket, the double elim did take the win with people liking it, just barely with 13 votes compared to 12 for the regular bracket, and 3 people voted doesn't matter. So it does matter.
It matters.
Yeah. But so we're going to go ahead and jump into our final topic of the night regarding a interesting situation that happened at the South Florida Regional. So there was a thread on Chief Delphi that kind of popped up earlier this morning. We actually had switched topics to bring this one on, but there was a post from a member of 179 that was an alumni and current mentor that they had a unique experience at the South Florida Regional that had a first HQ intervention in a qualification match result. The post goes on to read that in qualification match 54, was originally concluded with a final score of 97-95 in favor of the Blue Alliance. 5 matches later, 179 and 54-10 were summoned to the field to talk to the head ref, and were informed that First HQ had reviewed the match and determined that 179 was to be given a G205 penalty for causing damage inside the frame perimeter of 54-10, and would be receiving a tech foul and a yellow card for the match, which would flip the result of the match in favor of red. I thought that this was a unique experience that HQ had actually stepped in from New Hampshire and provided a ruling on this. I know that from my past experience, HQ has been very standoffish with dealing with events and continuing to voice that they side with the head ref or lead robot inspector at the event and side with their decision. So I was interested to hear that HQ had stepped in and more or less had done a video review of the rule. Essentially, what's happening here, right? I mean, they, obviously had taken the footage from the event. Maybe there was somebody from HQ at the event. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm presuming that, they did some sort of video review and determined, that this needed to happen. So the two main issues that I have with it are, one, what really transpired this to happen. I'm sure, and not at fault of the referees, because this game, in my opinion, is extremely hard to ref with some of the loading zones and the penalties that are there. But, are they reviewing every other event that is happening along the weekend and similar issues that occurred? Was there an issue and somebody had reached out to HQ with this? So those are the couple things that I have. Surely there was missed penalties that across the event, or penalties that should not have been called that were called, vice versa. So Connor, we'll go ahead and start with you and your opinion on this with first HQ stepping in.
I think it's kind of weird that, because reading through the Chief Delphi thread, that reversal didn't happen until 5 matches after, which is kind of odd that they would do it at that point. I feel like it did affect the outcome of the match, but it's still odd that it happened. I think it's good to note. So the rule and reference is G205. This isn't combat robotics. A robot may not damage or functionally impair an opponent robot in either of the following ways: deliberately as perceived by a referee, or regardless of intent by initiating contact, either directly or transitively via a game piece. Now, there's something about the interlocked bumper cutouts, which is an exception of this rule, which has me very confused as to why it was ended up being called. So it happens in the last 5 to 10 seconds of the match. In my opinion, I don't think the call should have been made, and especially 5 matches later, because that's 20, 25 minutes after the match had happened.
Oh, it's
I
more
feel
than
like that. Yeah, I mean, at least, but I feel like that's a call that should happen relatively quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with the analysis there, and I think that's some of the consensus on Chief is that this should have fallen under the exception in 205B, and probably not been called that way. I mean that, and I think one thing that that's going to come up more and more is there has to be some concession around the fact that there are varying levels of build quality, and we can't be penalizing teams because they're facing teams with a lower build quality that are susceptible to simple damage in benign situations where otherwise a robot would not be damaged. And that's just the
100%
reality.
agree.
And I think the games need to evolve to the fact that robots are going to get hurt, robots are going to get tipped over if they're not built right, and the game needs to allow for some significant amount of nominal contact in the bumper zone that's going to result in teams falling over. When First designs a game where the robots can reach 48 inches outside the frame perimeter,
They're
which is
going to tip
ridiculous.
over.
They're going to tip over. It's ridiculous. It's unsafe in the first place to build robots like that with that kinematic. But on top of that, come on, of course they're going to tip over if you tap them the wrong way. So,
Right.
why are we penalizing teams for just incidental contact? This happened a lot at Port Hueneme. And frankly, I think First needs to reconsider their terminology with red and yellow cards and how they approach it, because we're not building up a positive program when the referee can give a red card for something that's completely incidental and not intentional at all. Like when you look at soccer, I watch a lot of Premier League. The
A
players get
red
red
card is
cards, and
very intentional.
a red card is intentional. Like someone's
Yeah.
cussing out a referee and they get a red card. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
they send a guy to the hospital. It's
Yeah.
not their bumpers hit a tall robot,
And
and
they
it
tipped
sets
over on accident.
it sets the wrong tone for the whole program. And I think First needs to reconsider this whole dynamic they've built up around yellow and red cards, because I think it's really bringing the program down.
Agreed.
Yeah, and to your point, especially with, I know there was a couple times, at least at Kettering this weekend, that teams are so focused on the robot they're driving and the traffic issues that already exist with the game that especially a lot of teams that are running swerve, they're zooming across the field and aren't really paying attention to what's coming from the other corner. And like there were so many collisions that happened this weekend of robots that are spinning and almost tipping over. And if that robot's tipping over, like that team's getting a red card. And
Yeah.
they are literally just so focused on the robot and the zone that's around them to try and get to the storing location. And it's
Yeah.
going to ruin the match for them. And, and to piggyback on that, like with the double elimination, like Mike, if that happened to you guys in the losers bracket, like you're done. Like
Yep.
you guys are out because you instantly tipped the robot over because your team is so focused on what your robot is doing, which is what we want our kids to do, right? We want our kids to focus on their robot and how they can make it the best to their capability while
Yep.
complimenting their alliance partners. So
Yes.
I 100% agree with everything that you had to say.
Not very inspiring, and that's what this program's about. So
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Can I add to that? If you watch some of our later playoff matches, you'll see like us actually stopping and driving around the taller robots on our opposing alliance that are doing similar cycles just because we don't even want to touch their bumpers for fear that they'll fall over and we'll get another red card. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's actually unfortunate that volunteers are given the authority to completely end a team season for incidental contact. Like they should even have that ability in this program. It needs to be taken
Mhm.
out of their hands. They shouldn't have the ability to give cards like that. It's just not appropriate for what we're doing here, and it ruins team seasons for no fault of their own.
Yep. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Connor, any last words before we go ahead and wrap up?
no, I think Mike really just covered everything right there. I fully agree with what he's saying.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks again for tuning into FRC Roundup tonight. Special thanks to all those who clicked that follow button or stepped up to help fund with a Twitch subscription or donation. Your support really helps us continue to make great content. Don't forget, you can watch FRC Roundup archived at youtube.com/first updates now and watch live Mondays after FRC recap during the competition season. Thank you again to Mike Corsetto, our guest from 1678, for coming on tonight. And on behalf of our producer, Tyler Olds, my co-host, Connor, and all fun correspondents, I am Nick Jr., and thanks for watching. Good luck to all teams competing in week 2 this weekend of the competition season, and big thanks to our moderators in chat as well. See you next week, same day, same time, where we take a look at what is going on in FIRST Robotics on FRC Roundup. Thanks, everyone.
This video on First Updates Now is made possible by viewers like you and also the following sponsors. Kettering University is looking for talented robotics students who want to continue learning and innovating in a hands-on, real-world experience format. Kettering University representatives will be at dozens of FIRST events this season, including the championship. Go to kettering.edu/first to see which events you can meet a Kettering University representative. FRC competition season is here. Submit your favorite moments to FRC Clips of the Week by each Sunday at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow. Also, the FRC Top 25 poll is open Sunday 5 p.m. Eastern to Monday 5 p.m. Eastern, where you can vote for your top 25 teams of the week at firstupdatesnow.com/FRC Top 25. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/firstupdatesnow. Join our Discord at discord.gg/firstupdatesnow and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.